Okay, evening everyone, or good morning, depending where you are. I'd just like to welcome you and thank you for joining our fourth AMA, wrapping up 2024. It's amazing how quickly the year comes to an end. We've got actually a lot of people still coming into the room. So if you don't mind, let's just give them a moment longer. I'm not sure why there was a sudden rush just after the starting time. Okay, let's kick off. So this evening I'm going to have a brief recap on 2024, what we've achieved, where we've come from. I'll discuss the pre-sale and VCs, exchange listings and the Mainnet launch, marketing and sponsorships, technology, mining and miners, always an interesting topic, as you would all probably know, ecosystem development, and then we'll finish off with some questions. I just need to apologize up front. I'm battling with a bad cough. So every now and then I might need to cough. So just excuse me for that. Okay. I thought I'd start with just a bit of personal reflection, just a bit of background, give you an idea of sort of my thoughts on things, why I started BlockDAG. I mean, my background, I'm an engineer. I've come from an engineering background. I've worked for small and big businesses. I've seen different sides of businesses from the inside out. And I think, and a lot of people, I think, agree that the corporations that run this world, they're greedy, they're in it for themselves, they're certainly not there necessarily for us, and they misuse our information, they hold it, they use it for their own good, and not necessarily for ours, and we generally at their mercy. If I look at myself, I use Microsoft a lot and I use Google a lot. And I chose two, so it gives me a bit of flexibility. But if either one of them was to cut me off, that would be quite a disaster for all the data that they hold of mine. So I think we need more control of our lives over the information that we share. And I think decentralization, blockchain, crypto, it allows us that autonomy to operate outside of the control of all the corporations, of the governments. And it also, for a lot of countries where there's regimes in place that gives them financial controls that we take for granted. I've got credit cards, so I can quite easily transact, but there are a lot of countries where that's not possible. So I think this technology, as smart as it is, it has a real world use, and it's certainly showing that. And I think we're only touching the surface. So I certainly believe in it. The team, my team, we're all libertarians to a degree. We believe that this is the future, and that's why we're fully behind it. So the choice the choices we made when we started BlockDAG. So the first thing we decided was proof of work. We believe that's superior to proof of stake and all the proof of stake type variants. Some of them are very promising, but I mean, we all know Bitcoin, how successful it's been. It's shown to be that. Whereas a lot of the proof of stake coins, they compromise something, generally decentralization. And we believe that decentralization shouldn't be compromised. So we chose proof of work. We added the DAG in, which gives us all the features that Bitcoin is missing in terms of transactionability. And then smart contracts, that's obviously the other piece of the puzzle that blockchains need to be able to perform and give us the functionality that we all use. In terms of BlockDAG, I mean, it's often upsetting. People ask me questions, is this legit? Sometimes it's phrased a bit more harshly, and no one likes to hear that. But what I say to everyone is, as much as I tell you we're legit, it's really for us to show you that we're legitimate. We need to build your trust. We need to meet targets that we set. We need to be transparent with everyone, and we need to show that we're doing the best for BlockDAG, which is effectively doing the best for our investors. So we are ultimately here to serve yourselves as investors. Part of trust is also being open. And that's why I thought I'll share just a little bit more about myself. I mean, you can all see my LinkedIn profile, so there's my history shown on there. But I'm a South African. A lot of you would have known that from my accent. I live in Cape Town. I have a wife and 2 children. Well, not children, they're young adults now. We enjoy being there, but we enjoy traveling as well. I've spent time in Switzerland. I've spent less time in Dubai. I've lived in the UK. I've spent a year in Singapore. So I've been fortunate to travel a lot. And from my side and from the team, I mean, what we can promise is we'll do the utmost that we can for the project and for our investors. And that's my solemn promise to everyone. So enough about me. Everyone's wondering, when am I going to start sharing some real information? So just a bit of a brief recap of 2024. We started the year with Bitcoin at 42,000. The reason I mention that is towards the end of 2023 is when we conceived BlockDAG. We started planning it. So going into the year, Bitcoin was at 42K. We had jumps up to 70K after the approval of the ETF, and obviously there's been a run-up now after the Trump election and all the good things that are coming out of that. So yeah, we're in a bull run. We're in a good space from a market perspective. We feel very bullish about BlockDAG and the market we're in, and we certainly want to capitalize on that. Just some of the numbers. So the pre-sale, so the formatting's been jumbled up a bit as I imported into this platform. The pre-sale, we're on just north of 168 million, which is fantastic, and we can only thank all our investors for that. I mean, our marketing team's been fantastic in terms of getting the message out, but ultimately it's you, the investors, that have poured your money and your trust into us. We've got a massive community on Telegram, 70,000 plus, Discord, more than 20,000 people. Our X1 miner is used by, it's probably closer to 400,000 users, of which there's more than 270,000 active users. So, I mean, that's fantastic, seeing all the use going through there. And, excuse me, our Telegram miner, which is obviously a more recent addition, we're on more than 50,000 active users there. Our alpha testnet was launched in September, and our phase 1 dev completion was October of this year, and I'll touch a bit more on that in follow-on slides. This is roughly chronological. So we started our pre-sale in March of this year. The team doxing happened in July. That was a very important time, important that obviously we came out and the community needed to know who was behind the project. We've done a full redevelopment of our website. I think, we've had fantastic feedback on that. There's still improvements we can make, but I think it's a very good improvement. We're moving towards a more corporate site, so we're adding more information in there as we go. As I mentioned, Alpha Testnet was launched in September. It was, from our perspective, it was a success in terms of what we were trying to achieve. We had about 100 nodes that were spun up. Wasn't all easy, so we acknowledged that there were challenges there. But we've learned a lot from that. There were issues, but that's what we expected from an Alpha Testnet, so we were happy with that. Our phase 1 development was completed in October. And what that means is, and sorry, I'm covering some of the material from the previous AMA, but what that meant, which was very important, was that we had finished our blockchain, we'd finished our dev, and if we chose to, we could launch at that stage. Obviously, from a pre-sale perspective, we're not ready, and there's a lot of other functionality we wish to add on, but at least we got to that phase, and we're very happy with that. We had a first technical session. So besides these AMAs, we had our first technical session led by Morris Hurley. It went down very well. There was a lot of good feedback. So we're going to plan to do more of those. He spoke about the limitations of Bitcoin, why it's slow, why it has to be slow, what the DAG does for that, and how the DAG improves the speed. We've also launched a new white paper and light paper about a week ago. Very good feedback on that. It's a lot more relevant, to the point, accurate, and that's what happens a year down the line. Things change, so obviously that was an important step, was to represent where we are currently and where we're going. We've also done a legal audit, which was finished about a week ago, which was looking at all the changes in jurisdictions. I'll touch on some of the data that came out of that in a future slide. Presale and VC, as I said, we've done 168 million. So from an investment perspective, going very well. Obviously, what's very key, and a lot of people have been asking, is what VCs have invested. So we haven't focused on that. We've been quite open that this is a retail-led project. We didn't feel we were ready for it either. For a number of reasons, things like white paper, light paper, website, we felt we needed quite a bit of that to be improved on. We are now having conversations with VCs. We're engaging with 4 of them. We've got a lot of interest. As things happen further, we'll certainly let everyone know. We had one VC who was pretty much gave us the go-ahead, but their terms were unacceptable to us. And that was, they wanted to front run our retail investors in terms of not having a lockup. And we've always been very clear that we'll never allow VCs or institutional investors to front run any retail investors. You guys have supported us, and we need to support you and protect you as well. So that's pretty crucial. As I said, as we get more traction on those, we'll certainly announce it, but it hasn't been a focus up till now. From an exchange listing, again, it hasn't been a focus for a while, but we've started conversations. We've actually got 4 exchanges that have given us the provisional approval. Not the big ones, we'd love to say that, but certainly we've had quite a few of the tier 2 and tier 3 exchanges approve us, contact us. They're very keen to list us. Obviously, they've seen, everyone sees BlockDAG out there, so they're certainly keen to have us on their books. So those will progress quite quickly. What we're currently doing is we're working with a consulting company that assists us in our preparation. The whole exchange landscape has changed. A year or 2 ago, you paid your money to the right person, hopefully, and you got fast-tracked, hopefully, well, at that stage, with probably not too much documentation, you could get in quite quickly if you paid enough money. Most of the exchanges now have very formal application tracks. There's no sort of bypassing it, which is fine. I mean, that's how the industry has matured and has grown, so we're happy with that. What it does mean is we need to be ready for that, and there's a lot of documentation that's needed, so we're working with a consultancy that's preparing us for that, so that when we apply, things go smoothly. We've already addressed all the concerns, we've answered things, so that should go a lot quicker. The target is around about 10 exchanges when we launch, and that'll be a mixture of mostly tier 2, a couple of tier 3 in there. We would love to have a tier 1 in there, but that's particularly difficult. We have had some conversations with a tier 1, but that's going to take probably a bit more time. Typically, they don't go with an initial listing. So that's where we are with exchanges. Obviously, important for a project when you go live is the exchanges you're on. So obviously making sure we have the right liquidity in place, we have the right launch plans in place in terms of promotions, etc., and obviously the right market makers in place as well. So there's a lot to do there, and that's why we're working with a consultancy that has done this for multiple projects. They know what they're doing, and they'll certainly make sure that when we do it right. Moving on to the mainnet launch. So this is probably one of the most frequently asked questions. I get a lot of questions directly through email, through LinkedIn, looking through our various social channels. That's one of the biggest questions. And obviously our investors are clever. They've looked at our trajectory, they've looked at how fast we're raising, and they've also said, well, at this rate, to get to 600 million, which has been our stated target, it's going to take us into 2026, 2027, which is a long way off. We certainly don't want to be launching after the bull run. So we've had a lot of discussions around that. What's right for the project? What's right for our investors? And also discussions around the bull run. When do we expect it to finish? Obviously, no one knows that, but we're quite confident. We're still in the early stages. The alts haven't moved yet. There's not a lot of frothiness. There's a lot of more substance behind it in terms of ETFs and all the corporates that have gone on. So it's quite a different landscape. But because of that and a lot of other factors, we feel it's quite early on. There's other indicators that haven't happened yet. So we believe there's another year to 18 months in the bull run, but obviously we don't want to miss out on that. So, and this is probably, I think, the most important and most exciting announcement for everyone, is that we will be launching in 2025. We are, as much as we would like to hit 600 million, we are not going to hold ourselves to that. We're going to launch during 2025. We're busy looking at dates. We're looking at tech readiness. We're looking at listing readiness. And early next year, we're going to be announcing the dates that we're going to list. But I think the good news is we will launch next year. That's not going to change. So I think everyone will be very happy and relieved to hear that. From a marketing and sponsorships perspective, so 2025, new year, it brings with it new ways of doing things. So 2024 was led mostly by, call it sales marketing, in terms of marketing to investors. We're changing that now. It's going to be a gradual transition, but we're starting to bring in more organic marketing, marketing through partnerships. So we're having a lot of conversations with potential partners, with potential tech partners, and we'll use those relationships for our own marketing, for promotional activities, etc. We're going to start doing more PR, formal PR, things like thought pieces and market commentary. That's going to start coming into the radar. So you'll start seeing more of that. Our first, our tech session with Maurice, I mean, that was, in a way, the first sort of foray into this. We're going to do more of those as well, in terms of educational pieces. So not necessarily just about us, but talking about tech in general, talking about the market, etc. So you'll see a lot more of those as we warm into 2025. And as I said, the shift is from investors to developers. So 2024, we were very good at marketing to investors. We're not necessarily going to stop that, but what we need to do, and we've been quite slow in doing it, is marketing to developers. So we need to make sure that when we launch, we have developers that are building on our platform. And to do that, they need to know who we are, why to build on top of us, what are the advantages, understand the technology, understand the different initiatives that we're putting in place, etc. So a lot of the new marketing will be aligned with bringing on developers and partners and building an ecosystem around us. The other area of questions that have come through, and again, we haven't really had answers to give you, and that's why we've been silent on this. and that's around the sponsorships. So part of the legal audit that we did was around the MiCA changes in Europe, and they're quite far-reaching. Thankfully, nothing like the SEC, so it's not like that. They've approached, I think, far more pragmatically, but it does have quite an impact on us in terms of what we need to do, what we need to have in place. Over and above that, each country has additionally their own requirements, which also come into it. So it's MiCA. There's also various local requirements, which are from a crypto perspective, and then other things like how you promote things, whether things are seen as securities, etc. So it's one thing to say we're not marketing in Europe when we don't have, for instance, sponsorships. But as soon as you have sponsorships, that's putting a flag in the ground and saying we are selling into Germany for Dortmund, we're selling into Italy for Inter Milan. So I think we moved a little bit quickly into those, and then we realized that we were crossing some boundaries that we were uncertain about. So we started taking legal opinion on that, and that's why we had to pull back on mainly the Dortmund one, and that's because just from a German perspective, the Inter Milan also had some complications which they were nervous about, we were nervous about. They did take our logo off their website because of some of the conversations, and they didn't want to be promoting us as a partner yet not promoting us in any other way because it didn't make sense to them. They were happy we kept their logos on our website, so that was sort of the middle ground we agreed on with them. With Dortmund, it was a case of them being quite nervous about selling crypto into their country. As well as some of the implications for us. The good news is Inter Milan we're back on track with Inter Milan. The logo and on their website, I was hoping would be back on this evening. I don't think it is, but in the next day or two, by next week, that'll be up and running, and we'll start some of the sponsorship activities around that. Dortmund, there's a little bit more conversations happening there. We went out with a communication saying that we were terminating it, just partly because we needed to have some communication, but we're hoping that we can go back. We needed the legal review to be completed, which it has been, and we've got some action points there, which will hopefully allow us to reactivate that. In the interim, we took it off our website, and obviously they took it off their website as well. As I said, we will let you know if we can reactivate it. If not, then it'll remain as is, and we'll obviously just continue with Inter Milan. And I suppose an apology. We try and be transparent, but sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes when things are in the air, it's difficult to go out with something concrete. And that's just the nature of where we are. So while these were undecided, we sort of thought we made the decision not to communicate. Now we're obviously we've communicated, and obviously as soon as we have more information, we'll let you know. Moving on to the tech roadmap. It's a slide from the previous one. So as I said previously, our phase one, which is our original DAG-based blockchain, is complete. Everything, including the consensus, the Explorer, the nodes, EVM compatibility, smart contract ID, etc. That's all in place. We had anticipated or planned to have our external security audits complete by now. They're not complete, and that's because we redid some of the development on one of the key smart contracts, the vesting contract. Issues that came out during our internal audit, where we found that there was a potential vulnerability. So that went back to redevelopment. We're back in internal auditing at the moment on that. Given the time of the year, we're not going to be able to get the audit done this month, but we'll get that out. It'll be audited early January. So we hope to have the audit completed by middle of January. We're into phase 2 now, which includes, so the green items are either completed or in progress, so quite a bit more work around the whole Explorer. So the Explorer now shows nodes geographically where they are, plus node information. It has contracts as well, so you can see the contracts that are there. It has contract verification functionality, token functionality, and then we're starting to build analytics in there as well. So there's quite a bit of additional development around the Explorer. Various optimizations around the chain in terms of transactability, in terms of storage size, in terms of some functionality as well, like around the fees, etc. But quite a bit of work happening there. And then the other ones are items that we planned. And the two areas are, and I'll start with DeFi. So any chain launching, there's sort of key core DeFi components that you really need to have in place. And we believe certainly you need stable coins, bridging to other chains, the opportunity for lending and borrowing, and swapping as well on chain. So all of those we'll be building, as well as vesting as well. So that's the DeFi components we'll be building. And then the other area is the Launchpad functionality around assisting tokens to launch on our platform. That obviously brings a lot of activity. It brings a lot of use on the blockchain. So we're taking the sort of best of various other platforms out there, and we're building something that will encourage meme coins and other coins to launch on top of us. Just continuing with that, our beta testnet, we had communicated January that we were targeting. So we're expecting to have that released by the end of January. As soon as we've got a firm date, we'll let you know, but that's the target at this stage. Importantly, there is the idea is, instead of the alpha where it was really sort of open it up and provide some tokens, here it's more of a simulation of our mainnet launch. So we'll be doing full token management in terms of the airdrops. We're actually going to use what everyone's purchased as a proxy. So we'll be going out to our full community. We'll push out. Remember, there's only on a test net, so they're not real tokens, but everyone will get their tokens delivered to them in an airdrop. They'll be locked up in a vesting schedule. So we're testing that. We're testing the fact that it's airdrop. We're testing the fact that we can distribute a large number of coins to a large number of investors. So all very important as part of our testing. Obviously, we don't want to find that we launch mainnet and we haven't tested these sort of things. We'll probably accelerate everything. There's no point in having a vesting schedule which takes a month before you can get your first tranche of tokens. So we'll probably compress everything into days, not months, etc. And we might reduce the tokens by a factor of 10 or 100 or something like that, but it'll be a real test. We hope to have a lot more nodes set up by the community. I mean, we have our nodes, but we'll be a lot more ready so the community can set up their own nodes. And that's important for us to do load testing, especially with a distributed set of nodes. So the load testing, and then also testing of miners. And I'll come back to the miners, but just from a testing, obviously we need to be testing our miners. And that'll be, again, with a real reward schedule in terms of an accelerated halving type schedule. Obviously, we're not going to be testing over 50 years, so we'll have those all happening a lot quicker. But the idea is to start testing a lot of the real world scenarios in this beta testnet. So miners and mining, obviously a lot of questions around this. So just touching again on our goals there, we need to build a sustainable blockchain with sustainable proof of work mining. We want to acknowledge our early investors. We want to make sure that decentralization remains a top priority. And we obviously need to make sure our network is secure. So we came out with various scenarios at different stages. We have changed our mind or pivoted in terms of our views on this. I won't go through all of that, but it was part of a process of us understanding what we were doing while we were building the technology as well. So the status on that is, as communicated previously, we've transitioned from a SHA-256 scenario to effectively a SHA-3, which is the new version of SHA-256. And the protocol there is KK256, so newer, better, faster protocol in terms of our hashing. We've identified and we're working with 3 manufacturers. They are busy prototyping. They're busy working with us in terms of the customization that needs to go on those. We had hoped to be a lot further down the line, but we're not, and that's just the reality. It's been a lot more challenging in getting to this point. The next step will be testing, and we are estimating shipping in March. That's our estimated shipping time. That will be before the mainnet launch, so no one will get their miners afterwards. And some of the delays, and that's why we can't go further yet, is there's some stuff that's still happening on our chain that impacts on the miners as well in terms of that custom development. So and we're trying to wrap that up, but that's been what's also delayed some of this in terms of we need to be ready from our side before the manufacturers can finish their side. So that's been a bit of a delay on things. Ecosystem development, and this links back to obviously the focus now on bringing on developers. I mean, obviously, for a chain to be successful, it needs to have a functioning ecosystem, a rich ecosystem. We need builders to be building on top of us, to bring activity, to bring their clients, to bring transactions, and that's the lifeblood of any chain. So we're pivoting we're pivoting the marketing to start focusing on the ecosystem development. We've literally today agreed and signed with Hacker Earth, which is one of the biggest hackathon companies. They're well represented around the world. So they're going to be running 4 hackathons for us during 2025. We estimate that we will get more than 15,000 developers through that. And that's more than 150 projects. We're hoping closer to sort of 300 projects that come out of that. We'll probably start slightly slower and then we'll ramp up, but there's going to be a lot of focus on that. They are big hackathons by all means. And we'll obviously make everyone aware of that, and that'll bring a lot of focus onto the project as well. The way Hacker Earth works is they do all the marketing. I mean, we'll do marketing of our own, but they guarantee us a certain amount of marketing. They guarantee us a certain number of developers that they bring on, and they do that through their network, through their marketing initiatives, etc. And they have got a very big network. So we're very excited about that. I mean, that's going to bring a lot of activity to us. Part of that, also the deal with them is we get to use their platform for our own internal hackathons. So where we market it, so we'll run more specialist hackathons, regionally focused or topic focused, for instance, gaming or DeFi or even more niche sort of topics. So we'll run those interspersed as well. Again, we'll give more information as we get there, but that's probably towards the end of Q1 with our own internal hackathons. The grants program, we've mentioned that we're busy developing the back end that allows us to manage that, because in talking to people, it's quite onerous to run a well-run grants program. So instead of just sort of using Excel and trying to sort of throw something together, we're putting a platform together which allows us to people to apply properly, to communicate with them, for us to vet the applications in a formal way through a grants council, etc. So we feel that gives us a better chance of running it properly and efficiently. We're hoping to launch in February. Again, we'll go out with more communication around that. The grants program, obviously there's going to be prizes for people. Sorry, I'm talking the hackathons. There are prizes for the winners of the hackathons. Obviously the grant program, there's grants in place, and that's going to range, those will be in the range from sort of $5,000 up to 100,000, maybe higher, depending on what we see coming in. I mean, we're happy to be flexible on that. We've committed 10 million to grants for next year, so there's a lot there, and it'll be paid out in a combination between fiat being USDT, Tether, and our own coins. So depending on the nature of it, there'll be sort of a combination of both of those. We're working with an incubator who will offer services to companies that come through the grants program, and obviously the hackathon developers as well. It's probably going to be run third party. We're still in discussions with them, but we'd like to be able to take sort of those early stage investors and teams of investors and give them at least a program that helps them grow as a business. Because that's often the problem, is they might be very good technically, but from a business perspective, there might be things lacking. So that'll help them. We're also going to be putting together an ambassador program. We are looking for people to represent us in different markets around the world. It's probably going to be a two-tiered program. So we'll look for sort of key ambassadors in certain countries or regions, and then they'll appoint ambassadors under them. Again, more from a development and promotional perspective. There'll be comms that goes out around that. Certainly anyone who's any investors, we'd love you to get hold of us if you think that you're in the right location or you're well positioned for that. And obviously as investors, hackathons, grants programs, all those things, we'd love you guys to be involved in that as well. Certainly very keen to see investors being part of these initiatives as well. Just some other feedback for you. So there's been quite a bit of feedback on the support side, that we sometimes too slow to answer things, and support has become a lot more busy. Some of the challenges are that we use a payment provider, so it's not necessarily us that delays things, but we send things through to them, and they need to assist us where things go wrong. There's also, we found that payments from certain centralized exchanges seem to create more issues for us. So we're looking at that. We're trying to improve on that. But just from a pure support perspective, we're putting in place a proper support system. We're going to be using Freshdesk, which is one of the better ones out there. So we'll start creating tickets for everyone. So you'll get feedback on your items. We'll be able to track tickets that have been in the queue for too long, that aren't being addressed, and it'll allow us to manage support a lot better and a lot closer. It'll also allow us to manage support where third parties are involved as well. So it'll allow us just to have oversight of where these things are getting stuck and why, and where they're spending too long. So I think the commitment is, and it's going to take us a month or two to get that up and running and working smoothly, but the commitment there is to improve support so that it's a far better process for everyone, and you feel more in control and more aware of what's happening with your support issues. I mentioned the legal review that we had done, more of a legal audit. They looked at two things primarily. We're a Seychelles-based company, and there's quite a few changes happening to that regime. So they looked at that, and then they looked at obviously the EU side in terms of the MiCA rules that are coming in. Both of them are effective from the 1st of January. Both of them, although they're effective from then, don't have a lot in place yet. So for instance, on the Seychelles side, we're putting in the paperwork to apply, and it's not actually a VAS, but something like that. But I think everyone's familiar with that term. But we're going to be applying for the right license. but we're also in parallel looking at other jurisdictions, depending on the requirements, which aren't clear yet from a Seychelles perspective, but if they require more onerous things like KYC, etc., then we might move locations. So that's undetermined at this stage. But we've got our eye on it. We've got our lawyers sort of advising us on that. As I said, we're busy submitting the paperwork. Well, it needs to be submitted in January, so we're on top of that. From a MiCA perspective, again, the submissions only need to start going in January. So we're working on our white paper and light paper to make sure that they conform to all the requirements. So there'll be some changes to those papers just to bring in to satisfy the requirements. And then we end up having to register with a specific country in the EU, and that becomes our, I suppose, designated country from a regulatory perspective. There shouldn't be too many changes, but obviously, as you've seen with our sponsorships, we need to be quite cautious around how we promote, where we promote, what we say, etc. So we're getting quite a bit of advice around that as well. So we believe we're on top of that as well. As I mentioned, quite a few issues when purchasing. Well, I say quite a few, but if you take into the context, we've got call it 150,000 people that have bought on the platform. The percentage of issues is very low, but obviously we still do have issues which we need to deal with. So as I said, from a purchase perspective, we're working on that. We're improving our back ends to be more robust. And between that and the support platform, that'll address a lot of that. Another big issue that comes up is compromised wallets. Unfortunately, we're a prime target for scam artists. They are trolling all our social media. We keep telling people, be careful, please don't accept DMs, direct messages from anyone. But time and time again, people unfortunately get lured away from there. They get emails from people that look like it's us, and some of them end up giving out more information than they should. So there are a lot of compromised wallets. We started trying to help people with that, but we quickly realized that we don't know who the right person is. So if someone gets hold of us and says their wallet's been compromised, we often can't tell for certain whether the person getting hold of us is the original person, as in the owner of the wallet, or the fraudster or the scamster. So what we don't want to do is go and make a change to someone's wallet and find we've now actually cut off the owner of the wallet, and we've now passed it on to the fraudster. So our current policy is we can't help changing wallets for now. What we are doing is we're putting in place a process. It will be in place before launch, and it'll allow us to establish true ownership. If we can't establish true ownership, then we can't do a wallet change. We'll be using KYC, which obviously always scares fraudsters. They don't like to go through KYC for good reason. So it'll be KYC plus any other mechanisms that we can use to verify that you are the true owner of that wallet. If we can verify that, then we will allow you to change the wallet. So for now, what you need to do is just hold tight, create a new wallet for any new purchases, keep the existing wallet, because when we get to the point where we want to do a transition, you'll need to show that you have access to that wallet. Don't use it for anything. Don't use it for BlockDAG or any other purchases. Obviously, it's been compromised. And then just listen out for comms on this. As I said, it will be before launch. But if I can just ask you just to hold tight on that. Support can't help you. I can't help you. No one can help you, just because, if anything, we'll create more of a problem if we try and help ad hocly. So our commitment is to help you where we can, but we need to do it through a formal process where we can verify the ownership. We've had a lot of questions on offices. So this is, again, we're an international company. We've got people all around the world. We have got offices in Dubai, mostly marketing focused. London, again, more on the marketing side. In Cape Town, we are setting up a technical hub here. So a lot of you would have met Jeremy, who's our CTO, who recently joined. He's also based in Cape Town. We are busy. We've just signed up with a strong project manager who comes from Cardano. He's based in Cape Town, so we're setting up a sort of a hub of excellence, technical hub in Cape Town. But we've got team members around the world from Macedonia, USA, Turkey, Panama, Germany, and a bunch of other countries. So we are a typical new age company around the world. We don't have offices that you can come and visit us at, and we don't plan on having offices. It's not part of the makeup of us or a decentralized organization. Obviously, as we transition to a foundation, that becomes our legal home, if you want to call it that, and we might have a slightly different approach at that stage. But right now, we distribute it around the world. And that takes me to the end of the feedback. I realize I've taken quite a bit longer than I'd anticipated. So I'm going to open it up for questions. I've got a couple of questions which I'll just go through that I have already, which will answer quite a few of yours, and then I'll open it up. If we users have multiple accounts, and that's BlockDAG coins with multiple wallets and multiple X1 and Tap Miner applications, can we migrate them all to the network? In other words, into one account? How does that work? So just a bit of a recap. For every X1 account or Tap Miner account that you have, at the time when you migrate it, you will need to have 7,500 BDAGs in that account that you've bought. That's your ticket that allows you to then transfer those coins. Many of you have multiple of those, and that's fine. You will just have to have in each of those wallets, you'll have to have that same 7,500 BDAG. We will put in place a way to consolidate that, so you can transfer that into a single wallet. So we'll let you know more around that, but the intention is not to lock you out or anything like that. It will be perfectly fine, so don't worry about that. And also for those of you who've had compromised wallets and you create a second one, that's also fine as well. Do you have an estimate of the staking APY? We are planning probably higher than 50%, and that's if you lock up for 12 months, potentially quite a bit higher than 50%. By sort of Jan, Feb, we'll start coming out with more information around that. We're just doing some modeling and making sure that it works with the models and our tokenomics. But yeah, 50% or more, and that's staking for 12 months. We'll have shorter staking periods, and that'll earn you lower APY as well. So I think we're going to be pretty generous there. And that's, again, it's us showing appreciation for you committing your coins for the long term. Obviously, it's good for the network. We like to see people holding on, so we're certainly happy to incentivize for that. What are our plans for burning tokens? So on the fee side, the fees are being split 50% to miners, 25% to the DApp that brings the traffic, if it's DApp-based, and 25% to BlockDAG, the network. We haven't decided whether we burn the 25% or whether those are used as treasury for spending on the ecosystem. It's something we need to decide on, but that's the portion that would be burnt if we go that route. What is the approach for third-party miners? Is there already a roadmap? If only BlockDAG will be making these, I don't have a lot of faith. So the manufacturers we're dealing with, the way it works is they are building the custom machines for us, but they are building it so that they will provide that service once we stop selling them. So third parties will buy directly from the manufacturer. We don't want to be part of that afterwards. I mean, we're not a hardware company. we've done this just to sort of seed the community and get things going. But once we pass this phase, it's not for us to provide miners. So there will be at least one manufacturer who makes miners available. It's most likely as soon as we launch that other manufacturers will start looking at us. There's going to be, obviously, we will be very profitable initially. That's the case with all blockchains when they launch. So there'll be a lot of interest from other miners and mining manufacturers. So it's likely that others will also start joining in and producing those miners. Started testing miners. I think I've covered that already. Will hackathon happen in the test net? It will do. So the hackathon, the first one, which we're hoping happens round about the end of Q1, we will be on testnet there. We won't obviously be on mainnet. So that'll be a testnet-based hackathon. The miners will be dispatched using first in, first out. So whoever ordered first will get theirs first. The only consideration there is if the different machines have different delivery dates, that might change that slightly, but the intention is if whoever ordered first will get their machines first. Bear in mind that until our network launches, these machines, the mining rigs can't be used to mine other coins on other networks. So whether you get yours first or last, it doesn't matter. As long as you get it before we go live, everyone will have their machines by the time we go live. And you will all then have obviously equal opportunity to mine at that point. And then again, there were questions around the support side, which I've dealt with. So I'm just opening up the chat in terms of questions. I'm aware of the time, so we'll keep the session open for a while. If anyone is dropping off, I just want to thank you very much for joining us. I'd hope that you do stay on and listen to the Q&A. But otherwise, yeah, thanks very much for joining us. So there's a question, will there be halving? In a sense, there'll be a halving, but it's not a 50% halving, and it's not done on intervals like Bitcoin. Bitcoin halves every 4 years. We reduce on a continuous basis, as in every month. The rewards will drop. I think the white paper, or white and light paper, do have the schedule of the rewards distribution in there. So it's a type of halving, but it's on a continuous basis. And we've chosen that because it's a lot less of a shock to the system. It's a lot less of a shock to the miners in terms of their revenue as well. As soon as we receive miners, can we start mining right away? You can't mine other networks, and that's the compromise between general purpose or custom miners. Just to recap, if we went with general purpose miners, you could mine other networks, but it also means every other network can jump on and mine our network. And the view was that we need to protect the people that have bought our miners. So we've gone with custom miners, which does mean you can't mine on other networks. The questions on pricing. I stay away from any price predictions. It's not for us to predict the price. It's up to the market. All we can do is we can do the best we can to make sure that we've got activity. We've got builders on us. We've done all the homework. We've listed. We've listed on multiple exchanges. We've got liquidity, etc. And then it's up to the market. So it's at that point that we know whether we as a team have done a good job. But yeah, I can't predict price, and I certainly would avoid that. Where's the whole team? Good question. I didn't bring them on. Two of them are traveling. They could have jumped on. It didn't make sense to disturb them. And what I was covering was across a lot of areas. I didn't want to get stuck in technical or anything else like that. So it just made more sense for myself. The next one will be a full team AMA, and we're probably going to change the format of that as well. So you'll start seeing more frequent ones and a different format. X30 miner require Ethernet. They will require Ethernet. So you'll need to plug it into a router. Remember again that the miners need to connect to a full node, and this is universal on any blockchain. The miner doesn't have its own node. It doesn't run a node. It needs to connect to a node, and that's how it connects to the network effectively. And your two options are you run your own node, which for some people is possible, but for a lot of people is probably not a good idea. So the other option is connecting to a mining pool. We are having discussions with mining pools. Obviously, we need to make sure that their mining pool's available by the time we launch, because that's what the miners need to connect to. Is the secret partnership with the exchange still ongoing? I'm not sure if I said it was a secret partnership. So one of the rules with exchanges, and they're very clear on it, is you cannot pre-announce any exchange in terms of who you're going to be listing with. So all we can do is give you sort of broad strokes, sort of how many exchanges, what type of exchange they are. So we'll certainly feed that back to you, but we won't be able to confirm which exchanges we're listing on until we actually list. So yeah, they're not secret conversations, but we're not able to disclose that. Third-party audit for the, I think that's going to be done by Certic. I mean, they're one of the best ones out there. We'll use them. Our intention around the final audit before we go live is to use two parties. So we'll do a double audit. For this one, because it's only, I mean, it's an interim audit, we're just going to use Certic. They're good enough. They're more than good enough. So that's adequate for now. There are questions on allowing staking for now. My view is it's a bit of a gimmick that quite a few of the meme coins use. It's supposed to encourage people not to sell their coins. I mean, the intention of staking is either it's either part of the network consensus, so it has a function to perform, and you get incentivized for that. Otherwise, it's a mechanism where you show commitment to the network, and you obviously you show that you're not going to sell your coins. Obviously, no one can sell their coins just yet. Having said that, we will introduce staking before we go live so that people can pre-commit. But we're not there yet. We haven't built the staking yet. So, yeah, it's probably a month or two before that we'll open up the staking, but that's only once we've actually added that functionality. There's a question on third-party mining farms. So what we were hoping to do when we were going to use generic miners is that we could also introduce cloud mining, which is obviously a very easy way for people to mine, to earn without getting sort of stuck into the complexities of running a miner. Now that we're going custom, it's a lot more difficult. We are hoping to have something in place, but it's far too early now to talk. To get a mining farm to commit to us at this stage, they're all on a wait and see basis, because they need to invest a lot of money in now what is a custom miner. So we're hoping to have something in place, but yeah, we don't have information on that yet. Someone's saying 50% APY, is that all? So we could offer 100%, we could offer 200%, but we also need to be rational around it. I think a lot of meme coins offer massive amounts. We're trying to build a sustainable, rational business, and there's a point where offering too much money for something just doesn't make sense. So yeah, we're still looking at that. But it's not going to be 200% or anything crazy like that. Someone's asking, any plans if we can't reach 600 million? So just going back to one of I think the most key slides here was that we will launch in 2025 in spite or irrespective of what we hit in terms of our target. So we've always stated 600 million. We'd love to say we'll get there. With VCs, we might have a chance of getting there, but very difficult to tell at this stage, but we will launch irrespective of what that is. Can I create a meme token in pre-sale based on BDAG network and community? No, you won't be able to. Potentially in a later test net, we'll open up the launch pad, in which case you can create tokens on that. But obviously, again, it's in a launch pad, it's in a test net, so it's not something you should use commercially, but you'll be able to play around with it. But otherwise, it's not something that you can use until we're live. So that's the point when it becomes useful. CFO position, we have 2 people we're talking to around that. So once we've filled that, we'll make that available. Is Switzerland still a target office location? My preference for the foundation is Switzerland, and that's just because I've spent time there. I like the country, and I think it represents safety and security, etc. But there are other good jurisdictions. There's Panama. There's the East, Middle East. So there's some good options we need to look at. Wherever that is, that would be a type of office as well. I mean, we'll have operations there as well. But Switzerland or somewhere else, we still need to confirm that. So there's a couple of people asking about their Binance wallet. Binance wallets seem to have caused issues for us. That's one of the things we've picked up. So we're looking to see why that is so. Question: have you been in discussions with established layer 2 projects looking to switch to BlockDAG? So I think what's important is that BlockDAG is effectively a layer 1 and layer 2 in a way. I mean, we have the transactional speed and the decentralization that's needed. We have the EVM compatibility. There are things that we might introduce, but they're not necessarily layer 2 solutions. So they might be within the core blockchain that will allow us to increase that transaction speed as well. So we're looking at those right now. It won't necessarily be ready for the launch because we don't need that, but we'll start bringing that in later. But as I said, that's probably a change to the core, so we don't necessarily need layer 2s. So it depends on what's needed, but we don't believe that your typical sort of scaling layer 2s will be needed because our blockchain itself is performant enough. I'm just looking through. Again, where's the rest of the team? Yeah, as I said, it didn't make sense for them to come and sit and watch, and there wasn't enough on any of their plates to sort of make it worth them being part of it. Question again on changing ownership of compromised wallets. Again, we'll put something in place that we hope will facilitate that in a secure way. We can't do it if we don't have a secure mechanism to identify the true owner of the wallet. So that's important for us. It's important for you as well. Rewards for running nodes. So there's a high likelihood, we haven't decided on it, but we will offer rewards for people who run nodes as part of the beta testnet. We appreciate guys doing that, and it's useful for us in terms of our load testing, etc. So we will put something in place. It's not meant to make you lots of money per se, but the idea is we show our appreciation. So we will do that, but we'll let you know exactly what that is. People wanting to know more about myself. I don't want to talk more about myself right now, but I think I'm happy on a future one to share a bit more. According to the website, X100 miners can only mine 2,000 coins a day. Why this number and why not more? So I'm an engineer, and in most tech companies, there's always this, call it friendly dispute between marketing and engineering. Marketing tend to say more than they should. Engineering to try and get marketing to say less than they should. This is one case where we probably positioned it in a way that we shouldn't have, because it's not something that we control. What we don't want to do is start controlling the nature of the mining, because then that goes against this whole ethos of being decentralized. So miners need to earn what miners earn. When the network first launches and there are less miners, they will earn a lot more. Obviously, as miners join the network, the supply and demand economics mean that the miners will earn less and less over time as it becomes more competitive. So we need to let that run freely. What we have done, and that's how we came up with the mining reward schedule, is we know roughly how many miners we'll have, and we've made sure that at launch and for a period afterwards, they will earn more than the stated coins. How much more, we're not sure. There's other dynamics that come into it, but over time that will drop, and that's what happens on every chain that launches. As I said, we don't want to put in sort of we don't want to introduce things that are fudges to force things. So we've built the mechanics so that it starts and everyone earns enough based on what we've promised, but over time that will reduce. Technical specs of miners. Again, we're not there yet. We can't give that to you. As soon as we can, we'll let that out. But as I said, we're working with 3 manufacturers. It's been extremely challenging. We found getting to this point. It hasn't been easy. So as soon as we've got that, we will let everyone know. There's quite a few questions on fiber optic, whether you need, what sort of internet connection you need. So miners do a lot of work, and that's what they do. It's the work is not based on a massive volume of data that they're working on. It's just a very difficult problem that they solve. So the fact is that it's not, you don't need particularly high internet speeds. It doesn't prejudice you. You're not worse off if you on sort of a way slower internet. Obviously, there's a point if you were on an old, call it a dial-up internet of 10 years ago, you would probably battle. But any decent internet would be fine. It is something we need to actually just send out some more comms on. So I'll make a note of it, just advising. But I think in broad strokes, it doesn't have to be super quick. It just needs to be reasonable internet. And everyone will have the same opportunity to mine and earn. Where can we buy a node that's compatible? So the node is something you set up on a Linux or Mac machine. They can be run on a Windows machine, but Windows is quite greedy when it comes to CPU. So when your node is running, Windows tries to hold on to a bunch of compute power, and it doesn't let the node run properly. So we don't advise using Windows. So our build that goes out has instructions for Mac and Linux. The best is always Linux. I think that's what's generally used in most instances. We don't sell that. It's off the shelf. We have specs in the light paper, white paper in terms of what you need to run the node. It's part of the optimizations we're doing at the moment to make sure that node isn't too heavy in terms of CPU power and storage, etc. But yeah, so off the shelf Linux machine, you just need to be reasonably competent in terms of being able to install the node itself and obviously manage the node and keep it updated. Again, everyone's very keen on technical information around miners. We understand that. We'll give it to you as soon as we can. In terms of things like Bitcoin, which is very competitive, it's very important your energy costs, and that's the difference between being able to mine competitively or not being able to mine. Most people at home on a sort of a home electricity tariff from a Bitcoin perspective can't mine profitably. In terms of new chains, that whole dynamic doesn't exist until the point where it becomes particularly competitive. So in the early days, you don't need to worry too much about your electricity cost, but over time, and again, we can't tell when that is, over time, it does become a factor. So that's just something to bear in mind. It took Bitcoin quite a while before that became sort of a factor between profit and not. But yeah, that's something that will just pan out as the network grows. In terms of power usage as well, we'll let you know as soon as we can. Questions around big investors. As I said, institutional investors, we are targeting them now. We're going after them. We have opened up some conversations, some good conversations. So that'll get us, we hope, a lot of sort of big chunks of money. So that's pretty exciting in terms of getting closer to that goal, or getting investment in. We have a couple of whale investors who've invested a couple of million. So I mean, that's I can't share who they are and whether they're a sort of a company or individual, but yeah, most of the focus has been on the retail side of things. Again, when will we launch the coin? 2025 is our stated year. Early next year, we'll come out with the actual date. The consideration there is a couple of factors. Obviously, our tech readiness. We don't have to have everything in place in terms of our roadmap, but certainly we need the core basics in place. I'd love to have everything in place. We need to know that we've got a strong ecosystem that's been built, that we've got miners, that we've got apps being built. So all that activity and momentum needs to be in place. We also need to make sure that obviously our investments have come in to a certain level, and we also need to make sure that we've prepped for listing as well. So we teed up with the right exchanges to list on, and that includes centralized and decentralized. And decentralized is absolutely part of our listing strategy as well. It's a lot of volume can come from decentralized exchanges as well. So that comes into it, and the other factor that comes into the launch date is obviously the market sentiment. How are we feeling about the current bull run? If there's signs of frothiness or anything else that comes out, obviously we'll pull it forward, but we certainly will be watching the market very closely. Someone wants to know, and it's nice to know this, what about promotional items? Maybe everyone's keen to get t-shirts, mugs, hats, ties, pens, whatever else. It's something we could look at. Again, we don't want to get bogged down into too much sort of logistics around those sort of things, as it is the miners are. There's a lot of logistics around the miners, getting them shipped, managing that process. So we've stayed away from that, but yeah, maybe it's a nice thing to do. I mean, we'd love it if people around the world were wearing BlockDAG t-shirts. So from a marketing PR perspective, that'll be great for us. So maybe good idea there. Token launch still planned at 5 cents, correct? Yeah. Who will send the mining equipment? The manufacturers that we're dealing with, they need to ship them. There's no point in shipping them to Dubai, South Africa, Switzerland, whatever. It makes no sense whatsoever. And the manufacturer will also honor the warranty. So if there are issues, it needs to go directly back to them. We don't want to sort of get stuck in the whole logistics around that after sales service, etc. So that needs to be handled by the manufacturers. A couple of questions on the payment card. So a little bit disappointing. We were very keen. I think, we're very keen and excited to launch a payment card. I think it would be great to have a BlockDAG payment card. There are quite a few challenges, the biggest one being the need to be licensed. We were under the impression that we could work under someone else's license, but there's a lot of other details that come into it, and it's not that simple. So you can't have a BlockDAG card under someone else's license. You then need to brand it branded based on them, and there's a whole bunch of other things which sort of took away the benefits of the card once we started looking at it. So it's something we're still looking at. We're still very keen on a card. I think it offers, I mean, it's a great way having access to crypto and spending by a card. I mean, I do that through another third-party card. It's the best way to get easy access to crypto in a real-world spending sort of scenario. And there's lots of incentives we would include into the card in terms of certain balances and certain statuses, etc. So yeah, it's a great initiative. We just haven't quite managed to find sort of a partner that can do it for us. But we haven't lost hope. We're still hoping we can do something. The Tap Miner conversion rate, there was a big flurry of emails that came out. I didn't get to the bottom of it, but I think there was either a mistake on the system or there was something that went out saying that it had been changed to 1,000 to 1. That shouldn't have been the case. It's been corrected, so it's back to 200 to 1. There's some questions on the card again and what countries. Generally, the cards are available in most countries, but there are the blacklisted countries which won't support any of these sort of cards, any of these credit cards. Okay, I see we've still got most of the attendees. I'm gonna wrap up now. Let me just see if there's any last questions. A lot of them are fairly similar. Someone's asking if we have our own mining control dashboard and software to monitor it. It depends on the manufacturer. Some of them have, some of them don't. Generally, it's not needed. You do get some quite sophisticated dashboards, which are often third parties, and they often introduce additional sort of optimizations as well. So we haven't decided what's really needed yet, but again, it's going to depend on the manufacturer. So that's our first port of call, is picking the final manufacturer. You can use a virtual server to run the node as long as it still has enough computing power and storage. It doesn't have to be a dedicated server necessarily. Okay. Again, questions on the audit, on the smart contract audit. We just missed it. We had redev to do on the main smart contract. We didn't want to. It wasn't up to standard when we did our internal audit. So we've done more dev on that, which means it's pushed it out to next year. Obviously, it's too late now to start an audit. So we're hoping they'll be able to get going sort of first week of January, and then it's probably 2 weeks, but we'll confirm that. Okay, I mean, a lot of the questions I've covered already. If I haven't covered your question, I apologize, but we've already been almost an hour and a half. I can feel my voice starting to give up a bit. So yeah, I think let's finish up now. I just want to thank everyone for attending, for being here. I hope you've seen that we're doing what we can to be a lot more transparent. You know a bit more about me. We're getting better at this. It's on your side. There's a lot you want, and on our side, we try and do the best we can. We don't always get it right, but we need to improve on it, and I think we are doing that. Every month, there's new stuff happening. We are showing transparency. So I think it's my commitment to do more of these, to bring the team into more of them, and we here for you. You're our investors, so we'll carry on doing that. End of the year for everyone, whether you're traveling somewhere, spending time with family, flying somewhere on holiday, celebrating, or just taking time off. Wishing you all a good time, safe travels. Have a good rest. I'm certainly going to do that. I've got a Christmas celebration with 38 family, which is fun, but it's also quite challenging. 38 family members all fighting over food and everything else. But something to look forward to. So yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful time, and we look forward to re-engaging in January. And yeah, thanks for joining us. We will make the recording available a lot quicker than last time, well, than the last AMA, so that should be available during the course of tomorrow. And that's all from me. So thanks very much to everyone, and a message from the team. They also send their regards, their wishes, and look forward to engaging next year. Okay. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.